said she'd be a little bit late.
Okay.
She put her 3 minutes, but
Or are you thinking?
you're the device.
Okay.
So, call us.
Okay, okay.
Do that.
Do I do anything like? Okay, meeting. Thank you. The meeting is coming to order. Let's see. Where's my? So we have comments. Wait, where is it? Oh, here. Roll call. But do we do roll call yet, even though no one's here?
Thank you, Deputy Chair Kathy Pearson. Yes, and thank you for calling the meeting to order. Jenna Watson has said that she would be running late, but
Okay.
we will get started. So, and as you've said, roll call will be the first
Okay,
item. So I think last time we did our roll call and then just mentioned in the minutes when somebody was late because Charlie was running late last time.
okay.
So I'm sure we can do the same this time around.
Now, do I say the names? Or,
I'll call out the names
Oh,
and
good.
we'll just have present or not.
okay,
So starting with Vice Chair Kathy Pearson,
present?
Committee Member Nicholas Markman,
Present.
Committee Member Charlie Harrington,
Present.
and Chair Jenna Watson and Committee Member Jean Borden have said that they will be here. So we'll make a note of that in the minutes.
Okay. First on the agenda, do I say anything else? Oh, the minutes? No. Okay. First on the agenda is the report from Public Works Director Anthony Boyd.
Thank you, Vice Chair Pearson. I don't have much to update us on. You know, there's been a lot of holidays between our last meeting and now. We've also very unfortunately lost one of our very long-time staff members, Gerhard Laufer, passed away just after Thanksgiving last year. And so our crew numbers are down, but we're keeping up with most of the work that we need to do, especially related to storms and rain, which is keeping storm drains clear, picking up leaves and so on. And that's really been the focus of our work. I keep knocking on wood, but we haven't had any major storms coming through, so no trees down. And the tree work that we do have planned is proactive maintenance. There'll be more to come on that because we also did just have an arborist take a look at city trees on streets. But that's really it from me. There'll be more details as we go through the agenda.
Okay. Next, approving the minutes of September 7th. Does anyone have any comment, addition?
No comments.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the minutes from November.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Do I do it that way? Okay, the minutes are approved. Let's see. Oh, phew. You've just, oh, good. Comments from the chair were on. I've fumbled up to this point, so you get the ball.
I'm sure you've been doing great.
I have. And Jean's coming too at some point.
I think she's in Alpine Meadows.
No, she decided not to go because of the weather, right?
Okay, got it.
So she'll be
Oh, somehow I'm short.
here.
I mean, I'm usually not short, so.
Huh.
Unusual circumstance for me being short. Hello, everyone. Sorry if I'm late. This is Chair Jenna Watson, having not broken any speed limits coming here from the city.
Did you stop at the stop sign?
I did. And our one of our fine police officers is sitting there to make sure that people like me in a hurry are complying with the new stop sign. I'm actually in a huge proponent of that stop sign. I think it's long time overdue. It's very confusing to, what was very confusing to everyone. I also have to apologize for my lingering cough. So I assume that we've called to order.
Mhm.
We've rolled called. I'm here now. And Tony, have you done your report, or are we?
Yes, yeah, it was a very quick report.
Good.
If you wanted to do your comments now, then it's probably a good time. We're about to move on to old business.
Okay, great. My comments are also fairly short. Just want to say that, we're now in the winter, but soon it will be spring. I'm happy that while we're getting a lot of rain, we're getting less rain than we did last year, which hopefully will mean less explosive vegetation growth and fewer fallen trees and fewer other tree and vegetation issues that the city staff have to deal with in the spring. But I have noticed that, some of the for example, on the trail on San Rafael Boulevard, the DG, resurfacing is definitely needed. Is definitely needed now. And there's some other, things that are just sort of coming out with the rain. But I wanted to say happy New Year, everyone. It's nice to see everyone in real life, Jean, soon. With that, let's turn it back over to old business. All right. So, have we approved our minutes?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
all right. See, you people don't even need me.
Yes, we do.
Um,
I don't know when to say this, but you were talking about San Rafael Avenue.
Mhm.
And is there any other alternative to what they pave it with that wouldn't puddle,
Puddle
you know,
and
all everywhere because of the slopes,
Yeah.
different. I mean, there are little lakes out there.
there are.
And people are going into the street to avoid that,
Yes.
and there are people on the street are not very kind.
No. Are they putting the DG down with the resin this time?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, good.
So this will be, and there are kind of different points of view on different contractors on whether DG needs a stabilizer, they call it. I guess there are some methods where you can find the right consistency with DG, and as long as you compact it enough, then it will stay in place apparently. But our DG obviously isn't doing that, although it's been in there for, I think, at least 15 years.
Oh, really?
In any case, we do have a contractor lined up, and they do have the material available, because that's also another issue. They don't always have it with the resin mixed in. And it is available. They're waiting for a window where it's not too soggy for in the areas they need to work. But they're standing by.
So I have to say, from personal knowledge, we have DG with the resin now on our steps, and there's our steps have a very slight tilt, but it was enough that, when water ran down them, the DG would just sort of run off. We now have it with the resin, and it's staying put.
It's
Good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, yeah. So hopefully that's what happens with this DG.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What is DG?
Oh, decomposed granite.
Okay, that's just the sand type stuff. This is the path we're talking
It
about. Okay.
it looks like sand, but it doesn't break down like sand because it's actual granite. So yeah,
Mini rocks.
yeah, mini rocks, very small rocks. Sorry. All right. All right. I probably shouldn't tell you how much caffeine I've had today. All right. All right. So upgrades to record. Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. I'm looking at our old minutes. All right. All right. So still upgrades to recreational facilities. I know the last meeting we had talked about the tree well with concrete and other tree issues in the park.
Yes, and apologies. I'm just trying to make sure that we have a picture for later on in our meeting here, because I will need to share it with you, and realized that I hadn't received it. So, yes, we have a contractor who we have an agreement with, and they've provided a proposal for the work. We have given them the go-ahead.
Great.
So, yep, they will be taking out the whole panel, capping the irrigation that's in there, and replacing with concrete to match as closely as possible.
Oh, perfect.
And I will, hopefully it won't be. It's winter always is kind of slows everything down. But yeah, hopefully it'll be in the next few weeks.
Oh, that's sooner than I would have thought, given how wet things are.
Yeah, I'm an optimist, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. I'm hoping for before our next meeting. Let's be clear. All right. Similarly, last meeting, we also talked about sort of adding additional seating, whether with a bench that was sort of standing by idle by the other bench over in the field corner of the or something else like in the gazebo.
Right. Yes, and so after the last meeting, I checked to see if in our corporation yard, if we had any benches that might be stored up. We only have one, and it's not in the best condition. So my recommendation would be to buy at least one, maybe two new benches. And I think that may be something that we could put in a funding request or a grant request with Belvedere Community Foundation for at the next go round. So that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, their next grant cycle is March.
Great. Yeah, we can do it then.
Okay.
And then that would be, I guess the question would be how many. We would aim to do something very close to to match the other benches that are out there. Do you think two, maybe three, or one? Any thoughts on how many benches would kind of be suitable out there?
I mean, I think we should probably take a look at the other benches and just see how great a shape they're in as well. I mean, there's the one on the Sandersville Avenue side of the park.
Yes.
And there's the one that's underneath the big trees. I mean, I know they're used heavily while people are sort of sitting watching their kids run around like crazy animals on the field, and also concerts in the park and other events in the park.
Come to think of it, even if they're not in the worst shape, what maybe we could do is switch them out for newer benches, and then keep those at the courtyard in case as backup for if there's a broken bench somewhere or something like that. And one thing is that some of those benches have plaques on them, memorial plaques. So we'll be sure to
transfer them over. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
Excellent.
And then the other thing is what we can do is for the next meeting, if we have the benches here by then, we can install them, and at the next meeting we can confirm whether the committee is happy with the placement.
Awesome. Good.
Just two thoughts. I think we also discussed potentially using the mismatching benches from the playground. I forget whose idea what that was, but I remember that there are a couple mismatching ones right next to the new ones. Is that feasible, or do we feel like we don't want to remove those from the playground?
I think that could be feasible. That's a good point, and I didn't make a note of that, but there were new benches installed in the playground to replace those, but those were never removed.
Right.
So there are actually additional benches in the playground right now, and if they're not needed in there, that might be an option for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and they're right there.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No. If they're in decent shape, we might be able to, just move them right over.
Are they actually installed? Are they in concrete there?
No, I
Conceivably?
believe they may be bolted down,
Oh.
but not in a way that they can't be removed. They're
But I
not
meant-
set in the concrete.
I meant for people that come to the park and want to move the bench. Can they move the bench?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Right,
And
yeah.
nor, I think there was some confusion last time about whether all the benches in the field could be moved either, and those are all
Stationary.
stationary. You
Yeah.
cannot drag them around.
Oh, okay. That's probably good.
Yeah, I knew the ones in the field because we've tried to move them before. So the-
If we do a grant request, I would still advocate for a piece of flair associated with that corner, maybe that chess style
Mhm.
table that we could put in
Yep.
there. Just give it some
Yep.
personality and identity.
That's a good idea.
Would be
Mhm.
kinda fun.
I love it. I
Yeah.
think that'd be really fun, unique thing.
Totally.
If we do, maybe what I can do then is work with the chair before, because that'll be before our next meeting, the grant application. So
Yep.
just to confirm that whatever it is suitable.
And to that end, I wanted to show you, oh, hold on, here it is. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to show that as the next, I don't, that's more of a, sorry, it's more of a picnic table it's a concrete picnic table with a chessboard sort of set into it. And they have that actually at my son's school, which is why I have the picture. And the kids use it at like lunchtime and after school and whenever they're bored and don't feel like doing math. And anyway, but I wanted to sort of put that in people's brains about, sort of other ideas, especially if we were going to replace a picnic table, because this is actually a picnic table, but it's got a chessboard too. So
It would be cool if the kids, or adults for that matter, could go to the police station or the community center down in this building and say, oh, I want to take out the chess pieces or the checkers pieces or something like that. I don't know how to facilitate that, but maybe there could be like a little lockbox code or some way to have pieces. I feel like you really couldn't leave them at the table. They would
No.
miss.
no, they would
There
disappear.
could be some way that we could find some method to allow folks to like check them out.
I don't know where they would check them out from, but
I don't know.
I don't know. Yes,
It'd be nice.
it would be nice.
I mean, or we could just start carrying. I mean, I carry checkers pieces with me. all the time, so.
We're more of a chess family, but yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah. My kids are a little bit older than yours. All right, cool. Tony, I'll send you the link to my concrete chess picnic table.
Yeah, great, definitely.
All right, cool. All right, we're talking about trash cans again.
Yes, and so after the last meeting, we looked at two trash can issues. One where there's no trash can, which is on West Shore Road,
Mhm.
and there was a proposal to add a trash can.
Yes.
If the committee is okay with it, what we can just do is go ahead and put one out there and have Mill Valley Refuse service it. The proposal actually was to have a trash can and a doggy bag station. And there's already a bench out there at this turnout on West Shore Road. So
Yep.
we can go ahead and install that, and then at the next meeting, committee can confirm that they're happy with that placement. And then the other trash can issue was the trash can at the end, what staff called the gateway
Yes.
to Belvedere. It seems like it wouldn't be impossible to move that trash can further down the road. We can't move it. There is a seating area over there, but that's Tiburon jurisdiction actually. There's a little kink in the city limits over there. So those trees and the benches close to the water are actually Tiburon's.
Really?
Yes, yeah.
We should take it back. I mean, I have to say that, you know, the 4 or 5 of us here, I'm gonna count in Jean. I think we can mount an army and take it back.
What we need an army for is to get whoever is putting their household trash in them
Exactly.
to not do that. I don't know who
Yes.
it is. Now they're starting to do it on the bike trail, right there at Lagoon Road where it curves.
Yeah, yeah,
That garbage can now has household garbage in it.
right, the one that's like
Big-
hanging on the pole, yeah.
Point the coyote cam at it for a week.
And it's been down at the end of San Rafael too.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's pretty good at avoiding paying garbage pickup.
Yeah, there's definitely, from time to time, we have issues even here at City Hall, people coming and dumping huge amounts of, garbage into the cans.
Oh,
Yeah, that's one of the main problems out there. And then, there are other people who are, doing a good deed and picking up trash along the shoreline, and then, but it doesn't fit, and so they leave it next to the can. And when the crew gets to it, they do pick it up, but in the meantime, it's sitting there, and right at the entrance, it's definitely, I can see why it's an eyesore. One thought that I had was that maybe we could have Mill Valley Refuse service that can more often. Right now, it's 3 days a week, and I know that they added a Saturday to their pickup schedule for Community Park, and that I think helped quite a bit with the cans in Community Park. So maybe as a first step, we could ask them to up their servicing of that can and see how that works. After that, if there's still a problem out there, we can find another place for it. If we move it down the pathway, there's no real space in the path. We'd have to kind of carve out a space in the landscape, which
Is there a spot next to any of the benches that are there?
right, it seems like might be a good option.
not really though.
Well, but
Yeah.
that's it in terms of sort of the furniture, the kind of placement, places sort of close to a crosswalk, close to a bench, is often kind of visually kind of a good place. But for the people sitting at the bench, it's not always the
Yeah, no,
nicest.
not that great, yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm sure we could find a spot somewhere close enough to a bench or a crosswalk, and where it's fairly flat. But yeah, I mean, I think at this point, if we could ask Mill Valley Refuse to up their servicing of that can to begin with, because the can itself, I mean, if that's the issue, just having a can there, then we can move it. But if it's that it's always overflowing with trash, then we might be able to deal with that.
I feel like it's both. I mean, it's the gateway to our city, and it's literally the trash can.
Yeah.
I feel like we, and whether, I agree, a lot of times it's collecting waste, which is a bigger issue. So maybe that's the first step is just getting it serviced more often. But it seems like the trash can should be near the benches and stuff, because that's where waste is generated. It's also out of sight. Is there, is that trash can currently on the boundary then? There's no way to move it closer to the trees or closer to the bench?
I think it is very close to the boundary. Yeah.
And then is there a problem with putting it on the other side of the boundary?
Well, we could ask Tiburon if they wouldn't mind if we move it over there and keep it on our schedule to be serviced and have our crew, sort of pick up the trash around it. That's
Yeah.
Yes. Possession 9/10
I don't know,
law.
maybe this is, feel free to disagree, but it seems like the trash can itself is kind of the issue in my mind.
Yes.
Because that is what collects
Oh,
the trash.
Right.
And it is right there. And now that, since we've been talking about it, I can't get it out of my mind every time I drive there.
I know.
But there's
I agree.
it seems like there's so many good places. And we just need to it sounds like we're fine. The garbage company's fine.
Tiburon will be fine.
Yeah, I imagine Tiburon would be fine, and then it's just moving the dang thing. I don't see any rational reason why they'd oppose it.
Really?
Well, and one of the things that's on our agenda later later in this meeting is to talk about the porta potty. And one of the ideas, it actually came from Jane, who I guess is not here, which I thought was brilliant, was to move the porta potty basically farther down the path, which would also involve talking to Tiburon about putting a porta potty on their side of the path. So to the extent that we're talking to them about putting nasty, smelly things on Tiburon property, we may as well, combine.
Do you think those two houses along right next to it would object if it was farther down? The trash, the porta
I
potty?
don't, I think that's a fair question. I wasn't envisioning it being a big move. You know, I think if we put it right next to their property, it would be. I was just thinking of moving it, the
few
bench
feet.
like 15 feet away. But I don't know that, they probably don't want anybody using that space, quite frankly, right? People sitting or doing anything.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, but it is.
Porta potty might,
Porta potty is
Yeah,
different,
well,
might be a
yeah,
little different than a
yeah,
trash
yeah.
can.
Hold on, I'm
I
trying
mean,
to,
frankly, those
The-
people will
'cause
benefit
it's-
the most from a new trash can.
because it's
They
right
will.
there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right
oh, yeah.
there.
And just, moving it kind of on the other
Side of the bench, right,
In
yeah,
between the tree.
yeah,
right there.
yeah.
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 Seems easy, but.
How many feet would that be? about?
That's probably 30 feet.
Oh, 30.
You think it's that far?
So is where the trash can is, that's Belvedere, and then the bench is not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bench is
And
Tiburon.
we were thinking of putting it.
Until we take action.
Well, I think.
Yeah, that was actually in the minutes, but from last meeting.
Honestly.
Wow. I was also late, so.
Well, it sounds like that's the next step, is talking to Tiburon. I don't know how that.
No, we're
Is it
talking about the
actionable?
garbage can at the beginning of
Mhm.
Samerfell Avenue, and
Oh.
possibly moving it over a little bit, the Tiburon.
Right.
But still. That doesn't sound like it's gonna go over. But we just keep servicing it.
Right. So the trash can right now, which is on Centerfell, is in Belvedere.
Right.
But the bench apparently is Tiburon. Tiburon has a little piece of our
Property.
Our property until we take it back from them.
What does Tiburon think about this move?
We don't
Well,
know.
I think we'd have to talk to them about moving the trash can a little bit closer and query as to whether they even know that they have this piece of property.
They do. They actually did some work on those trees over there before.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yep.
I mean, yeah, irrespective of whose it is or isn't, I think it's just a rational play and a play that
Mhm.
it just makes the whole area more serviceable.
Yep.
Frankly, we'd be taking the same action irrespective of whose jurisdiction it would.
I agree.
Yep, I agree. And I'm guilty sometimes of, I don't know, siloing. I don't know if it's the right word for this, but yeah, we usually try and avoid encroaching on Tiburon property, but I think it makes sense, complete sense in this case.
Do we need to get permission to put the porta potty there from Tiburon? or
Oh, so yeah, so the porta potty is a different placement.
It won't be at that area. Oh, it's down the path. that
No,
one.
that'll be back
Tennis courts?
on the dog park side of the, as opposed to on the tennis
right,
court
okay.
side. So that way it's not by anyone's house.
I thought we were talking about Centerfell Avenue. Am I
We
mixed
are.
Oh,
up?
but they mentioned
are.
porta potty and I thought it was.
Oh, yeah, no, the
I
porta,
got mixed up.
Yeah, okay, so Centerfell Avenue.
yeah.
Is there any way to put it so it's not quite so obvious to people just randomly passing by?
Garbage can?
Right, so that was what, so right before you arrived, we were talking about the fact that it's always overflowing with
Yeah,
trash.
no,
And that
you
people have
don't
been
have to
using it
say.
for, yeah.
I would say, hey, if Tiburon is opposed, then we visit removing the trash can completely. Because it just seems to be, I mean, Kathy, to your point, people are using it for unintended purposes and gauging the impact of that.
It's been a longstanding problem that purportedly neighbors who may live in Tiburon
Mhm.
use it for their daily trash.
Well, sometimes they use the one at the far end, and sometimes, and I've seen it also in the park. I've seen big household garbage can holders. So we need a.
Yeah, it's removing it altogether is an interesting idea because yeah, it's one of those things that's I learned actually at Mill Valley in their plaza they have a lot of trash cans over there, and there were issues with trash, and a suggestion from somebody was remove some of the cans, which seemed counterintuitive. If there's a problem with trash, you want to have as many cans as possible, but it actually worked because when people don't have access to a can, they're more likely to just put their wrapper in their pocket and take it home with them, or their water bottle, whatever it is. So I would say that's worth a shot as well.
Maybe could it ever be up there by the path on closer to Tiburon Boulevard, away from the house, like right somewhere near where you cross the street?
Right at the intersection?
Yeah.
More traffic, yeah.
Yeah.
potentially.
I mean, sort of set back. There's that one area that's just a path, and then there's the planting area, and then there's the path itself. I mean, maybe there.
Closer to the old railroad trail.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, I mean, we can ask Tiburon if they have a preference about where it would go. If it was down by the benches, sort of on Sanderville Avenue, the good thing about that is that it's a little further away. If somebody's got a bag of trash in the back of their car that they want to quickly dump in a can
Right.
somewhere, it's a little bit more of a hike to get to it. And it's not too far from where it is. So for people who are currently using it,
For
it's,
dogs and whatnot.
Looking
right.
Yep,
around for the
exactly.
trash can.
yeah, it's,
I'd recommend we approach Tiburon with the small ask. Hey, can we move this trash can
Mhm.
20 feet?
Yeah.
And not any more optionality, just keep it simple. And
Yep.
then if that comes back no, then we revisit plan B and C, which would be a bigger move, or, well, frankly, the bigger move's probably out. They're not gonna like that if a small move, but revisit removing it.
yeah.
Who would be responsible then for the pickup charge on the can?
Servicing the can?
Yeah.
Well, I think we would keep our responsibility for that. We'd let Tiburon know that we'll keep servicing it
Mhm.
if they wouldn't mind us moving it onto their property.
I mean, to me, that seems like a very benign ask.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's worth a try because it's been a long-standing problem.
Yeah.
I know we've discussed before just removing it. And some staff members here thought that was the way to go.
The trouble is people probably just drop things where it was.
Well, not people with household garbage.
Oh, right. But they've also used that can farther down for household garbage too.
Yep, I think if it's visually close to where it was, and it's just in less visible from the road as you're entering Belvedere, so that if there is buildup of trash and so on, it's not like in the entrance as you're driving in. Then yeah, hopefully that does what we're trying to achieve with
Maybe how
moving it.
much time we spent talking about garbage cans, but it's really important. I'm wondering now, I'm like, maybe there's new garbage can types that are small cylinders or something that you just literally can't stuff things into. I don't know if there's been garbage cannery. But,
No, there are,
Yeah.
because they use them in bear country.
yeah, so something like very small that'd be impossible.
Keep the big bears
Maybe
out.
people would just leave the
Yeah.
trash next to it, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's,
There are,
an additional part of the solution.
Right.
It also needs a new lid. I mean, those were sort of decorative, I assume, when people first purchased them.
Mhm.
They've just been there forever, but there are things like that.
I have a slight other thought. I hadn't heard it referred to as the gateway to Belvedere, and I really like that. And I was wondering, maybe there's something else that we could put there that's nice. We can maybe put nothing. That's probably the best thing to do. But I wrote down some ideas. One of those looking back at Belvedere signs, a historical picture of Belvedere could be right there. I'm thinking about something
Oh,
that
but it used to,
Mhm.
yeah, because it wasn't a road.
wasn't a road. So there's nothing there. So
Yeah,
you
there
can
was
see
just a,
water,
yeah, well, no, there's a sand spit.
a sand
Yeah,
spit.
yeah, it was like a little, not even a causeway, yeah, just like a, yeah.
So maybe something like that. I thought a little free library would
Right.
look cute right there.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I love those little libraries.
There.
I love those little libraries.
I don't know if there's like cute binoculars, not the metal thing, that's probably kind of tacky, but then even a little, almost like a state park entrance, a small one that's a map of Belvedere and showing you where the parks and a walking route are, and even a little slot to like get the walking tour map or something. So just throwing out some ideas for, let's remove the garbage can, but maybe we could put something cute and welcoming in the gateway.
That sounds great also.
Yeah.
I
What
think
is-
most of that stuff would have to be in Tiburon though.
Well, how about we just put it
Yeah, right where the garbage
can is.
Yeah,
Uh, We should look out there, but
I don't
that
know
is
if we can,
rapidly eroding.
if we take away
which
the
is my
garbage
plan-
can, they'll just
which
leave
is
the
my
garbage
plan
there.
C, just let the trash can.
yeah.
wait till- But yeah,
What-
we should check it out because there
Yeah.
could be space for something. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you look, there's like a little knot where the trash
Oh, you
is
mean-
right
People
now.
are focused on the white.
And then I can't tell what.
Oh,
what
you're
that
talking about
sign
up
is.
above. I'm talking about like as you make the
Oh,
curve.
oh, okay.
and
That's
down
actually
below
useful.
where the garbage can is now.
Even a small
Yeah,
sign that just
but I
says welcome to
mean,
Belvedere, right.
18, blah, blah.
Hang around
Yeah,
there.
would be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there are people sitting on the bench.
Yeah, because otherwise I think, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
because we
forgetting
do
what-
have
in the water.
like the,
The sign on for the drivers.
Yeah.
Come
yeah.
down,
we have a sign for the,
On the other side of the road,
Right
there's
by
a
the
fence.
road.
First thing
and
I
the
see.
bench is
yeah,
down.
Every
yeah,
time I go to the
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's down.
But- right, but it's not up there all the time.
Old one that's down,
Only when they're
down
inside.
around, it's out of
Yeah.
sight.
Yeah,
That-
because it's like, it goes right there, but it's not,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
got it behind that house.
Subtle, whereas that big sign is not
Maybe
subtle.
that's where they.
classy, classy. We're going for classy
Down by the bench.
with a C, not a K.
That's Tiburon though. Right? We're talking,
Sorry.
can the can go down by the bench and we just tell Tiburon we.
Well, okay, so I think what we've been talking about is proposing to Tiburon that we move the can from sort of right near the road and the path, what is now, over to the other side of their bench. And that we would still pay to service it, but that way it's sort of not, it's not this disgusting thing right when you enter Belvedere, but also it's a little bit farther from the road, so that to the extent that you're looking to dump a giant bag of trash,
But
you
you'd
know.
have to stop your car and get out.
right, as opposed to just.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We can always ask.
We can always ask, and then barring that, we can remove the can.
Or put a new top on.
Yeah, well, currently there's no top. It's just
Oh,
There's no top?
it's like a,
I thought you said like, oh.
yeah, it's got a hole.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, but like there's no,
But there's something that can be lifted up so that.
oh,
you can
yeah,
put a big
yeah,
bag
yeah.
in.
Yeah, it's like the metal
Yeah.
inset thing with the hole.
Yeah, it's easy to just go.
Just looking at this
Yes, there we are.
screen, the can may already be on Tiburon property, actually. I didn't realize it was that close to the bench. I thought it was closer to the doggy bag post over there. So in that case, yeah, I think absolutely, I think the first step would be to move it over to the other side of the bench. And yeah, hopefully Tiburon have no problem with that.
What about way down in that? part that's lower? So
Well, that gets really wet. You mean let God sort it out?
people who use the benches would see it and they know where it was. but other people
There might be serviceability issues with that, and
Yeah.
then also, I think a lot of the waste is, I mean, people are taking all sorts of trash, but making it easy for the walkers and the dog walkers.
Mhm.
Move it closer to the corner, actually?
Mhm.
I'm not convinced.
We do have an agreement with Tiburon where we maintain some of the landscaping up at Tiburon Boulevard. So I think we'd definitely be able to move it somewhere around there if we wanted to. But that's definitely much, it's not as, yeah, it's further away from where it is now.
I don't think any of us are wedded to having it where it is now.
Well, yeah, I guess what I mean is it just, so if there are people who are using it now for, picking up trash off the beach or whatever it is, that it would still be close enough for them to keep using it. So that it's when you're standing there, you can at least see where it's moved to.
Mhm.
Yeah, and without being out there, it's hard to tell where the best place might be. We can try moving it to the other side of the bench, and then at the next meeting, see what thoughts are on it.
Yeah, try something, and then we can
Mhm.
continue to iterate.
But
Sounds
could
good.
Staff also look into some alternative tops?
We could do that too, yeah. I believe that the top was replaced in the last few months, but so I'm not
Really?
sure what it looks like right now. I believe it now has a domed top on
Oh.
there. It used to have the one with a circle in it. Yeah,
I haven't looked either.
Yeah.
Go there every
Yeah.
day.
this is according to the crew, so hopefully they're up to date.
Oh, all
Um,
right.
But we could in any case look at lids.
Okay. All right. I would like to make a motion for our committee to direct the staff to speak with the Tiburon Public Works Department about moving the problematic trash can to the other side of the bench into Tiburon property. And depending on whether they get, if they get a negative response from Tiburon Public Works, to remove said trash can.
Seconded.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good. All right.
Robert called for the vote. I don't know anymore.
Yeah. Tony,
Tony, excuse me.
years of Robert. All right. And then the pathway repairs we already talked about. All right. Okay, trees. We had discussed last time tree planting at Community Park, both for the replacement of the pear trees that were sickly and removed, and then also the spot that is crying out for a tree that is by the playground.
Yes. So we had our city arborist actually take a look at that. I asked her to provide a recommendation of a species that would work well there. She strongly recommends not planting a tree there because the tree next to it is a cork oak, which has a long way to go. It'll probably get much bigger, and also has a sensitive root system, and digging near to it and planting a new tree, she said would, she had an alternative recommendation, and that is, let me share my screen quickly. The other thing she was in town to do was to do a survey of city trees, and this tree, you can see there's an orange ribbon tied around the base of it. She said that tree is of all the trees she's looked at in the city, that would be the highest priority to be removed. It's diseased and it's next to a bench and in a park. So her recommendation was to remove that tree, and if we're going to plant a tree, put a tree in that spot, and that would be a very good location in terms of lots of sunshine. It's not going to be competing with other trees, and it's close to an irrigated area, which in these parts is very useful. And it also opens up, the species that you can look at, because with irrigation, then you can have any number of trees that you can plant. So if the committee, if the committee feels like that may be an option, then the other thing I realized is that there are so many tree species that maybe what we can do tonight is narrow down what the committee would like, whether it would be a native tree, whether it would be an evergreen tree, or a flowering tree. And we can narrow down some tree species, and at the next meeting, we can take a look at a short list.
What is the dying tree?
That's a plum tree,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
And right now it has some cables running through it to hold up the branches. So it's been in a precarious state for a while. We've now been informed by our arborist that the time to take it out is now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had a hard time with plum trees in general. The ones, aren't those plums also across from the yacht club? 'Cause they also periodically conk out. When I was first on the committee, I remember taking branches up to the master gardener's desk. She had a long list of what was wrong with it. So maybe we should stay away from fruit trees,
Yeah.
even though they're pretty.
Yeah.
Fruit is messy too. When it
Yeah,
grows.
Yes,
it is
exactly. I was going to add that for sure. They grow wild. They grow very well when they're first planted. But just there's a ton of fruit everywhere, and then they start sort of decaying in different branches. The crew removed some trees down along the edge of Community Road down here that were also old plum trees.
Do you think an evergreen would be easier for maintenance?
So that's a good question. Evergreens tend to drop leaves all year round, whereas deciduous trees just drop trees, once in the fall. So actually, again, counterintuitively, I mean, in my experience, deciduous trees are actually easier to keep. The area around deciduous trees is actually neater. It's easier to keep clean and neat.
I mean, my favorite deciduous tree in Belvedere is the one opposite the yacht club, which now I'm forgetting the name of.
Linden tree, I believe that
Yeah,
is.
I think that's what it is. And it probably, if we planted that, should be a little bit more forward than the existing tree. Eventually, it would get huge.
Mhm.
but,
Forward into the grass, you mean, right? Forward into the grass.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, the arborist would know if that would be a good site and where it should be put.
Linden is this the big tree? Right
Yeah.
where you
Yes,
have- oh, that's
yeah.
awesome.
No, it's a really nice tree, and it's nice. It's nice and shady, and yeah.
My first recommendation was giant sequoia, but this would be a close second.
Giant sequoia.
So that your great grandchildren could see the giant sequoia.
So if that type of tree, excuse me, sorry. So the form of that tree is kind of a rounded tree instead of a conifer tree, say, which would be a more straight. So if you like, we can look for kind of species with that kind of form that are deciduous. Magnolia trees are also another.
So messy,
Really? Yeah.
So-
Okay.
so messy.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them, and being from Georgia, I have like a soft spot in my heart for magnolias, but they drop these giant leaves all the time.
And giant flowers. I have one in the backyard.
And they have giant, beautiful, sweet smelling flowers, but and super dirty. And the trunks are dirty too, like they dust.
Hmm?
I'm
All right.
just-
In other words,
I think-
no.
Supportive of the general sentiment, which was that shape and style. I think
Yes.
that's what I'd like to see there is a deciduous tree
Mhm.
that is more bulbous versus conical.
I mean, there's also a native alternative that kind of fits in with that, and those are the Buckeye trees.
Yes, Buckeyes,
Same shape, sort of.
right.
Not as
That's the
grand,
London.
but.
And not,
similar.
they don't
nice
get
tree.
as big, which is also, can be very useful. The one thing with Buckeyes is that they drop, those big Buckeyes.
Buckeye.
Yeah. And those, you know, they can be, you can
Only
roll your
once-
ankle on
only
those.
Once a year.
Mhm.
You
That's
can-
true.
you
Yeah.
can Plant them.
Will the kids like throwing them at each other?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe we should.
There's a lot of them on West Shore.
There are a lot of them, yeah, sure.
Oh, that's true.
Let's see what the arborist.
Yeah.
Yep.
See if,
viewers
yeah, see what,
kind
see,
of sort of-
yeah, see what the arborist thinks about the linden tree idea. I like that a lot.
I think round would
Mhm.
be more appreciated by the people uphill.
Mhm.
You never-
Yes,
I mean,
I'm
you
sure it
never
would.
know.
Well, it will hide the new development, maybe.
Exactly. It will shield the view of Mallard Point.
Maybe we need a whole bunch of them.
All right then. So at the next meeting, I'll have the arborist prepare a list of possible species for us for that spot.
Okay.
I feel like I should send a note to Anne Marie saying, we really miss you all.
I know we do.
I know.
Really, she was our master gardener who always had
She knew everything about trees.
information.
Yeah.
She knew everything. Well, I think she still does know everything. She's just not letting us know. All right, good. All right.
Upcoming repairs.
All right. Next thing is tree survey, and this is when Kathy and I have to admit that we haven't updated our tree survey.
Well, we did one how many years ago?
I know.
Anne Marie?
I-
Yeah, oh,
I know, but,
that's the one.
but you and I were supposed to.
We
get-
were?
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry.
We designated ourselves as the TVV update subcommittee.
Oh, my goodness. That was a chore.
Yes, and we haven't done anything about it.
Well, the arborist that I was just talking about, the city arborist, was here because we've asked them to do an adjacent survey, and maybe their survey can be kind of combined with the previous survey, the results of the new survey.
You should make sure that the arborist has our 2020 survey. It was extremely fulsome and not just in terms of the dead and dying trees, but also in terms of invasive species and where there was, overgrown areas that could be fire prone areas and things like that.
Yep, I'll do that.
I mean, it had details on maintenance, like pear tree and like the trees in John Price Park. that
Yep, nowhere near as detailed.
concerned about the lawnmowers driving over the roots.
Right.
Yeah, it's a very basic survey for budget reasons. We had to keep it very limited,
Mhm.
and really just looking for hazardous trees actually.
Mhm.
So yeah, but it's very it's nowhere near as in depth as that survey.
Well, Anne Marie had an army of people walking around, taking very detailed notes
And pictures.
and pictures, lots and lots of pictures. It's actually kind of a thing of beauty. survey.
I just remember the biggest sticking point for me was along West Shore, those cutouts where the people were not supposed to have built into these view
Mhm.
corridors. And we presented it to the city and nobody did anything. They didn't have them trim the trees so that they could, that you could see the water.
That was a separate report that you and I did together.
Oh,
Our little
was that wasn't the same?
subcommittee
Oh, yeah,
on views. So that's
Yes.
really
Oh.
the view report.
Mhm.
but nothing happened.
My idea for that is we, on the sidewalk, I think I mentioned this last time.
Yeah,
we Put a plaque
plaque.
on the sidewalk, so people stop and become more aware of it. And then if they stop there, this is cool. Oh, I can't see anything.
Right,
Then more people
Mhm.
would be. learning about it.
view corridor.
View corridor. View of what?
Forgot that was the- oh
And
God,
maybe
that was the
summertime is a
project.
better time to do a survey.
Probably. Probably. I mean, although the dead and dying trees you can see from, and I'm happy to report that the dead and dying tree that was on the survey that at 17 Oak Avenue is now gone.
I have a new one at my house.
Oh. Well, if you need the name of a nice, fairly reasonable tree guy who's approved by Belvedere, I will let you know. Yeah. Jorge in San Rafael, he does a good job. All right. Oh, while I'm asking about trees, how is our antique pear tree doing? With the one pear from last year.
Hard to say right now because because it is winter. The last time we had somebody look at it, it was Bartlett's, and they did a soils test and they did a fertilizer application based on that. And I spoke to them again recently, a couple of weeks ago, to see if there was any follow-up action that they would recommend. They said they didn't have any. So I'd like to look around for an arborist that has maybe more specialist knowledge. It's a very, very old tree, obviously, and you know, they don't last forever, but obviously we'd like to preserve it for as long as possible. And I think we can find somebody who's a bit more specialized than Bartlett's, and they're great. But yeah, you know, hopefully we can get a more sort of a plan together instead of just a one-off sort of action.
Good.
I just have a comment. This has nothing, well, it has to do with trees, but apparently eucalyptus trees only live 100 years or something. Or have you been listening to the one that fell over by Golden Gate Park? And they were commenting that all these trees were planted at the same time. They're from Australia and they have a lifespan of like 100 years or something, and they're all going to start dying. And there's a ton of, oh, I hate eucalyptus. But anyway, there's so many of them on Belvedere, and it's even hard to cut them down or, you know,
I know.
window them.
And they're also dirty because
they're dirty.
send
That's going to
bark
be a
everywhere.
terrible problem if it's true, but it's another discussion.
There's a member of our planning commission who,
Who's that?
she's a good friend of mine, so I won't mention her name.
Oh, well,
Okay,
you know what?
that's a different.
Some of my friends like sardines, so, you know, it takes all types.
I like sardines.
See? See? Takes all
I like
types.
them too.
Oh my God, am I the only one? All right, all right. Good, well, I hope that,
On this tree, well, I'm wondering with the pear tree, if there is, the one back up again, the master gardener sort of help desk. They have an office that's up somewhere in the bottom. And there's someone who kind of is their overseer, and this may all now change, who is associated with UC Davis. And, I mean, his talk is that he himself does not help private citizens, but public agencies, it's sort of different. So maybe if someone went up to talk to a picture or something, maybe that should come and look at or recommend someone. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. It's a UC Extension office, and yeah,
They oversee this master gardener group. And this
yes,
there.
yep, and they do, and they are. Yeah, I forget. I've worked with somebody from there before, and he knew what he was talking about for sure.
Yeah, given the historical background of this tree and the
Yep.
public agency,
Mhm.
public park, and
Yeah,
we haven't getting, there aren't many years left. We help now.
Oh.
If it makes another pair this year, you should preserve it somehow and maybe spray paint it gold and put it in a little box next to the tree. I'm not kidding, I think that'd be awesome.
I actually think we should probably make a mold of the pear and then color.
That
Gold
works
plated.
Too, I guess.
Okay.
but yeah, I think a gold pair and then like a little more historical information would be really sweet.
I like the mold
Yeah, yeah, because the actual pear might degrade.
If it's really
terribly.
gold, someone will steal it.
I think someone steal it, I think that would be a hilarious thing to steal, but it still would be pretty cool.
It's actually a very delicious looking pear. It's very red. I don't think so. It might still be out there. A little bit dried up, but you know, kind of dried pear. It's, you know, it's a thing.
It was reddish.
All right, okay. I think we're done with trees. I don't think we need a motion for our tree discussion. I think the upshot is that you'll investigate linden tree with the arborist and reach out to UC Extension in Novato with respect to the old pear tree.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Oh, when you get the results from the tree survey from the arborist, could you share them with our commission?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so they were just going to put them onto a map, I think. But off the bat, she said there were 17 trees that they recommended for removal.
Are those all on public space or also on private
I'm not
lands?
sure. And she said that they were trees that were threatening the right of way.
Mhm.
So if they were to fail, they'd fall in the right of way. So if they're not city trees, then we can definitely send a letter to the owners or
Great.
let them know.
Great.
Yep.
It might be useful for your February meeting and budget planning
Yes. Yeah.
department.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All right.
Well, that's great.
Good. All right, on to lanes. Park Lane, do we have anything in our update?
Well, so we went to the Planning Commission and it was approved by the Planning Commission. And we filed our CEQA declaration with the county.
Great.
So we are good to go. And we have a structural engineer that we've signed an agreement with. And right now they are waiting for the report from our geotechnical engineer. So, yep, he's putting together soil samples and writing a report on the site. And then once we have a structural design, we can go out and get some bids.
Bids.
Yes. Another update on that is that we've moved staff has moved some money around in CIP funds. After the intersection, there was a proposed project for the intersection in front of City Hall, which would have involved sidewalks and crosswalks. And money had been allocated for that. But City Council decided to minimize that project and stick to the stop sign. And that left some of the funding available, including some money that was a grant allocation. And so we've asked TAM, which is the Transportation
Mhm.
Authority of Marin, if we can move that grant funding over to the Park Lane project. It's about $36,000, so not a huge
that's-
amount, but
that's great though.
it definitely adds to the kitty for that. So yeah, so that will give us a little bit more money to work with. And once we have some quotes, we'll be able to go to the BCF and ask for even more money.
Great. Yeah, because I note that in the budget, and I have the printed out the budget. Actually, it might be in my car, but that we still have some leftover funding that we didn't use last year for the Park Lane, project that was specially allocated for it, that we have
Yes.
rollover.
Yep, I think about $38,000 is in there
Yep,
right
that's
now.
about right.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
thought the meeting was at 5. I was reading through the report.
Mhm.
Whoops, where is it now? That our committee had sent in, and it
Mhm.
does have those figures in the report.
Yep.
As you go through it, project by project, you have what was left over.
Mhm.
And then if we can discuss it again when we get to it, because in most cases where it then says what's allocated for this year, the answer is nothing
Right.
for all of these projects. Lanes, Park Lane,
Right.
Centennial,
Hmm.
Dolores and Carrier,
Right.
are identified by budget line.
I have an aesthetic comment. So the Golden Gate Lane, I think that's the newest lane. I was talking to some people about it. It's a very different feel from the older lanes, which are wooded and everything, in addition to its extreme vert. So a lot of people
Yeah.
are scared of that one. But it does feel like it's lacked some charm in the sort of white concrete or whatever it's about. I don't know what could be done if we're, because I think Park Lane is also mostly concrete or whatever that material is. So I'm now thinking like for that little loopy down thing, what if the vertical parts had tile on them? Some cool design like that, just to give it a little. Yeah. Not essential, but I'd be kind of sad. One, if the results like the only way to keep all the lanes is to make them all this white cement, I'd be fine with that. But it also doesn't use charm. Like, so I don't know if it's possible having some art, decorative art on the vertical parts in a way that's still safe. You don't have to do this, but I just want to share it.
It's an interesting idea, and I mean, that could apply to any lane actually, because there are quite a few concrete ones, and maybe eucalyptus, yeah, might be a candidate for something like that. Yeah, having just been through the planning commission, now we don't want to modify anything.
No.
If everything just becomes that sort of concrete slab type thing, I think we're missing an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I remember walking through San Francisco, there's some steps going out into the sunset up this hill, like 25th Ave or something like that. And the stairs have really cool mosaic tiles on them, and it's very distinctive.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, and I think aesthetics are important, and I think that was one thing the planning commission liked about this design. They liked the curved
curve.
alignment. So I think there's definitely it's usually a cost thing. Just plain concrete is the cheapest sort of robust option available, but it's not to say that we're stuck with it. So. Yeah, I think all the lanes, could benefit from some work.
Yeah, so just keep it in mind for the future projects. If we go the concrete route, maybe we can see.
Yeah, and absolutely, and I mean any work or projects like that would come through the committee. So there'll definitely be opportunity for those kind of discussions.
I can find some examples and share them around.
We could also have a contest for school kids and tiles.
Mhm.
And we have here our own ceramicist.
Yes. Yes. I mean, if you look at the tiles that are in the playground, that was from not the last time that the playground was redone, but the time before that. They're really quite lovely. Yeah, very cool. As long as you just don't make me ever herd 75 kindergartners to all make tiles ever again, we can remain friends.
Third graders. It'd be better.
Yeah, I did that for my son's grade when he was in kindergarten. Seemed like such a great idea at the time.
Right.
Somebody showed me a picture recently, actually, of some tile work that had been done with names of donors included in the tiles, and they were all, it looked like they were all handmade tiles, and it was a mosaic, so it wasn't, sort of linear, and it seemed like a nice way to honor donors for a project. We have plenty of plaques, and they definitely stand the test of time, but yeah, that's they're always there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, also in Mill Valley, where Tony's from, on the Dipsy Stairs.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
places
Yeah.
that have
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
Tony's done this.
Yeah, and some of the Dipsy Stairs have really cool mosaics too. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's tons of different examples.
and that's
Look
yeah.
like
There's a
more than
Dipsy
kindergarten.
Foundation that manages those, but yeah, yeah.
That's really great.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So one thing I wanted to throw out that had been sort of an idea kicking around for a bit that we can discuss further if it warrants, is the idea of creating some sort of friends of the lanes, like a 501 C3. I know, and you just mentioned like the Dipsy Foundation. I mean, there's a lot of examples of where you have, unique, public works that there's a friends of that is created to, to help fundraise and have events. And I mean, I was thinking about this for your Lanes
I
Run.
think I need this for my
Mhm.
race. Maybe not this year. This
Right.
year's still gonna be a collection of unaffiliated friends going
Mhm.
for a walk, is how I'm feeling it.
With $2 bills.
For $2
Yeah.
I think
Um,
I think I should establish something like this.
Right. But anyway, I wanted to sort of throw that idea out there and see whether or not, and I wanted to ask whether or not the city attorney would have any issue with the establishment of such an adjunct private organization to help fundraise for the lanes and for additional projects. And I mean, I know that when Golden Gate Lane was built, it was, let's just say, over budget. And that a considerable amount of private funding was used to build the lane. And to the extent that our budget is very squeezed, especially with respect to the lanes initiative, of which it is zero. It sort of cries out to me for a more organized support structure for lane funding.
Yeah, Mill Valley has a group called Friends of the Lanes.
Indeed. And so does San Anselmo.
Yeah, right. And so does Berkeley. I think they have quite a big one. They, in Mill Valley anyway, they're not a 50, is it 501 or 503C? But they use, there's another group called Friends of Mill Valley Parks and Recreation that are. In Belvedere, there's the Belvedere Community Foundation. The finances could maybe be channeled through the Belvedere Community Foundation. I just and I don't know very much about it at all, but I know it's quite a lot of work to maintain the legal entity needed to keep money.
We know some lawyers.
But there's also the I don't know, dissemination of responsibility. We have,
Right.
Community Foundation is a 501c3. Maybe there's a way to create a separate account or separate funds. So when funds are raised, you can just use them and not reinvent the wheel or have that organization feel like somebody's trying to take their authority or power or oversight over the community.
Right.
Yeah, and Jenna, I should talk to you about this because I pinged that Belvedere Community Foundation about, I'm going to organize this loose affiliation of people walking in the same direction. And
Mhm.
they said it would be, if you wanted to raise money, you needed to be some sort of.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't know if maybe BCF would carve off this as some separate thing, but I would love to brainstorm this.
Yeah. I mean, when we lived in Georgetown, and I was on what I call the playground board, it was really the Friends of Volta Park. It was really like the Friends of the Park of which there was a playground and a baseball field and a tennis courts and a pool and like, you know, but it was part of DC Parks. This was a friends of to basically do the, you know, maintenance and things like that. But anyway, I just wanted to throw out the idea and to ask if if the city attorney would have any issue or parameters of, you know, having a support organization similar to the one in Mill Valley and San Anselmo.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We can definitely maybe arrange to have a
Mhm.
discussion
Right.
with them.
I mean, because I'm not sure, I'm not speaking for BCF, but I'm not sure whether they would want sort of a separately managed account under them. They, you know, they have their own business.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, speaking again from Mill Valley, I know that the Friends of the Parks and Recreation and Lanes over there are, you know, made up of a lot of former members of their Parks and Open Space Commission and over
Mhm.
there, as well as other people. And they're a great advocate for those facilities. They'll come to council meetings and, you know, when they're providing some funding, you know, it always gives a little bit of leverage for getting council to also allocate some funds to projects. So I know it works well over there.
good. All right. Cool. If you could talk to the city attorney, I don't want to.
I mean, I assume you have to have, you know, rules, you have to register, you have to have a board of directors and a bunch of paperwork.
I think we can handle it.
Meet every now and then,
Well, you know, at least,
open a bank account.
yeah. Yeah, you know, get an EIN and all that. Yeah.
I'm gonna also just put together some pictures of the tiles and things like that, just so we have that.
Just to interject for a minute, we just got a note from one of the Zoom
Oh, good.
attendees asking for Charlie to speak into his microphone a little more closely.
Is it
A
on?
Yeah,
Zoom
is this
attendee.
working now? The green light is on. Okay.
All right.
We'll see if we hear from them again.
They said thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else on Park Lane since we got a little bit sidetracked?
Nope, not at this time. I can move on to Cedar Lane if you like. Great, yeah. We have a contractor ready to start out there, and they were actually going to be starting this week. But
Yeah, I walked by it the other day and I thought,
I know.
yeah, so they have the materials, they're ready to go, but PG&E closed the road, and so they wouldn't have been able to park there, so they had to put it off. Yeah, and I'm waiting to hear when they can schedule the work next, but yep, they are also ready to go on that.
That is great.
oh,
All
good.
right.
It looks,
Super.
it's unbelievable.
I know, it's like held together with duct tape. All right, good. Okay, in terms of upcoming repairs, I know that, you know, Pagoda Lane is done, the railing in Community Park is done. Sounds like Cedar Lane is, you know, ready to go. Do we have any other upcoming lane repairs on the slate?
Nothing scheduled, but we definitely want to keep the ball rolling. So we'll probably use the you know, the priority lanes that are named in the report
Mhm.
to move on to next. And I think Hawthorne and Centennial Park is one of those.
Yes.
So
There's also McLean and Corinthian.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
McLean's a pretty small project if these people are around.
So maybe we can move
Yeah.
on to something like that.
Yeah.
So if it's low hanging fruit, that
Yeah.
would be great to, yeah, we can definitely do
Just
that.
one section,
Right, yeah, it's just the upper section.
yeah, the very
Yeah,
upper.
the very top where it dumps onto Bayview.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, we can line that up then
Mhm.
to be the next project.
That'd be
Yep.
great. I could get that one in.
That would be great.
Yep, for sure.
All right. And then I think I think the top of Lower Woodward where it's also on Bayview. I think that's the other place where they're missing railing.
Yes, and that's actually also being done by the same contractor that's
Right.
doing the Cedar Lane repair. Yep, he's very easy repair. It's just a single
Yep.
rail. Yep, that needs to be installed. So,
Ah,
yep.
perfect. That's great. All right.
Is anything ever gonna happen to that one section on Park Lane? It's by the gate to the adjacent house. And it was taken down. I mean, this house has taken years to rebuild and it was taken down when they started. And there's a section that's it's just kind of lying there. And then the section below it is actually kind of a hazard. It's just, I mean, if you're coming down the stairs and you tripped, you. could
Are
land
you talking
right-
about the
I don't know
handrail?
what
The
name it is.
handrail, right, the
Okay,
handrail.
we
It's
can,
It's up by their fence and it's close to the house. It's in the last rung of stairs there.
I think I remember, yeah, walking past it and wondering if they were going to put that back. So yeah, we can, if they haven't by now, then we can definitely just go ahead and do that.
I mean, I don't know who's responsible. Well, it's on the lane, but I suspect the homeowners must have.
Yeah. We can see if we have any kind of record of, an agreement that we may have had with them.
It's been a long
But yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Okay,
fun.
good to know.
All right. All right, I think the next thing is Charlie's update on slides.
Great. So the slides subcommittee had a meeting, yay, about a week or so ago. And we got a few updates in, and one of the takeaways was that Jenna was going to reach out to Pat on the planning commission.
Yes.
She was going to go for a walk
Yes.
through Centennial Park.
Yes.
Any updates on that?
No, I haven't heard back from
Okay,
Pat,
I
but
didn't-
but I missed the BCF meeting yesterday morning where I would have caught up with Pat, so.
Okay. She did request access to the slide deck today.
Okay.
Even though I'm pretty sure I'd given her access, but she requested it again, so she at least looked at it.
Great.
And,
She's usually extremely responsive.
and then can you just share the intent was that for her to be able to give an opinion on whether or not she thought it was feasible or what the neighbors might think?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
That was one thread. And then Tony, we had discussed you reaching out to one of the potential manufacturers for the slides. Did you have a chance to do that?
Yes, yep. So I reached out to Miracle Systems. I was asking them specifically about their project at Taylor Mountain in Santa Rosa. And they said that the person who had worked on that wasn't there anymore. They offered to put us in touch with I guess the park administration up there. So that might be, might be a good idea to talk to them about the kind of the steps that they went through to install it. But I think, and we just had found that that company online because it looked like they made great slides. So I think it'd still be useful to also talk to them and see if they can see if they're interested in taking a look at our site and if they can offer any ideas.
Mhm. Well, and I think it's also useful to talk to the Taylor Mountain Park folks about the hoops that they jump through, both regulatorily and, I mean, I know that's a very different site. It's basically a large piece of open space. There's hiking trails and mountain biking trails. It's not near people's houses at all. But in terms of sort of making sure that, you have a slide on public land and that it complies, with the state building requirements, as well as, just sort of general safety and maintenance and,
Yes.
insurance and all that.
Yeah, exactly. Because, it's a public facility as well, so they'll be dealing with a lot of the same
Yep.
issues that we would be. Yeah.
But yeah, it would be great to have some of these conversations prior to moving forward with Hawthorne repairs, I think. Probably if we repaired that upper area and then embarked on this, it might be hard to sort of re-energize folks. So I was thinking as far as our committee was going to go, maybe we can commit to like at least once a month updates, but hopefully we'll hear back from Pat soon on that side. And that can probably handle the next steps from that might be reaching out to the neighbors. Then we can sort of discuss how to get community input and things like that. And then parallel path is the feasibility and understanding what the cost might be.
Yeah, there's new neighbors on both sides.
Right.
Or newish.
Well,
Right.
relatively new, right.
I get my thought is we don't reach out to them until we hear back from Pat. And
I agree. And given the Mallard Point issues that are subsuming the planning commission, yeah.
I was hoping this would be a respite from that. So,
Yes, this would be.
okay, those are my updates for this item.
Though someone may require a CEQA.
Hey, we did the CEQA analysis on our Park Lane steps.
Yeah.
So, which would seem to me to be a much lesser
that's true.
impact on the environment than, say, building a giant apartment building next to a lagoon, but who am I to say?
It's whether you need an EIR.
Right, yes. All right. Okay. Going from trash cans to bathrooms. Deal with very glamorous issues on the Parks, Open Spaces and Lanes Committee. And I touched on this earlier. Do you have a map of where we were thinking about the location for the?
If you give me a couple of minutes, I could
Okay.
probably pull one up.
Okay.
Um,
So one of the things that Tony and I spoke about, and this idea actually came from Jane, was rather than try to site a porta potty on the parking lot side of the tennis courts, which is in view of some of the houses on Lagoon Road, instead citing the porta potty on the other side of the dog park area. If you go along the bike trail there's kind of what I'll call an algae pond.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And
That would be a good place.
and there's a small clearing. Well, I mean, you know what I'm talking about, though.
Well, it's the drainage
Right.
from Tiburon into the lagoon.
Yeah, it's drainage of some sort. And there's a small clearing on the road side, sort of right across the path from that algae pond. That unfortunately that side is Tiburon, hence my bringing it up, when we were talking about the trash cans. But if we had a porta potty there, it would still be close and convenient for people who were at the dog park and the tennis courts, but it wouldn't be in view of anyone's houses on Lagoon Road. It's next to something that's already not that attractive, and it would still be easily serviced, this time, like from Tiburon Boulevard as opposed to from the parking lot.
That is Tiburon property, we think.
It is, because it's on the other side of the,
Basically, those row of trees, that's the property line.
I think the ditch that is, here we are. Excellent. Okay, so hey, Tony, can you, oh. Okay.
I can use the cursor to show.
Okay.
So we're at the tennis courts over here.
Mhm.
This is Tom Price Park
Mhm.
over here. And we are looking at this
That little,
area here.
yeah. The red line is the boundary.
Yep, exactly.
And the idea would be this little,
Could you move it back down where the tennis courts are?
Let me,
Where we started, Tony?
yeah,
mhm.
tennis courts are down here. And that
Is right.
is about 300 feet from the tennis courts.
Mhm.
They would service it from Tiburon Boulevard.
Mhm.
Yep, so there would be access to a truck from here
Mhm.
on Tiburon Boulevard. And when you go out there, you can see that it's not in front of anybody's house, so
Mhm.
nobody is looking out onto it from Tiburon or Belvedere.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there any space on the west end of the courts? Of course, it's pretty close to the path.
The problem there is access,
Mhm,
and we can move over there.
Oh, for servicing. that.
mhm,
Yeah.
right,
So here, yeah. the-
right. Right, and that's a very steep slope as well,
Yeah.
which if you watch the kids huck their bikes off of it, you can,
Yeah.
right, because we initially talked about just a bit further south,
Right.
right,
Yeah. The original idea was somewhere in this area.
right,
Um,
which is easily seen and
Mhm.
is fairly close to the houses.
yeah, exactly. Close to the parking lot, could be serviced from here, close to the tennis
Mhm.
courts, but also very close to these homes on Lagoon Road. Yeah, whereas the other one, the other location is, yeah, it's out of sight. I spoke to Jessica Hodgkiss at the ranch
Mhm. Oh, good.
about her thoughts on that.
Mhm.
She thought it was a good idea. She thought that approaching Tiburon, you know, and framing it with them as something that would serve the trail, the old rail trail, as well as the tennis courts,
Exactly.
would be a great way to go. She didn't think she was pretty positive about how they would feel about it. She didn't think there would be any resistance from them. But that was just her personal take.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, and I know we talked about reaching out to their committee, the post committee.
Right.
And she also thought that was a good way to go.
It sounds like now we have two items.
Right.
Toilets and
Ex-
trash
e-
and
e-
toilets.
Exactly.
All of them the same line. Trash and toilets.
Two quick things. One, since we're on along Tiburon Boulevard, can we put up some metal posts or boulders or something so that a car, like if I'm in there on the bathroom and a car like careens out of control and crashes into the porta potty, that would be bad. So I feel like some posts or something to
Some kind of protection.
protect you when you're in that plastic device. And then speaking of plastic devices, Tiburon's in on it. Along the old rail trail, they have another bathroom by those playgrounds.
Right,
It's like-
South Knoll, right,
Yeah, and it's a permanent structure.
yes.
Which to me would be better than a porta potty. So if they're in on it too, maybe we could.
But you
upgrade
need
this.
water for that.
I don't know, is there water there?
You'd also need a sewer connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, could you do those, I don't like these, but those sort of like chasm style bathrooms like they have in Tennessee Valley, like when you're in a national park? They're terrifying. I agree. they're really scary. Okay.
My face says if you've been to the ones by Rodeo Beach lately,
Yeah, okay. I always imagine that I'm gonna fall in those, so
Yeah,
I hear what you're
that's
saying.
not good.
Okay, so if there's no water there, I was just thinking if they were in on it, maybe we could figure this out together.
Good upgrade.
Less porta potty-ish.
To your point, a permanent solution that's kind of nice. I wouldn't let any more of us who would get a sewer connection. There's literally thousands of homes around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a sewer there somewhere.
Yeah.
I think it'd be more of a fun thing.
Yeah.
Do it.
You think
The-
we could get any foundation interested in such a thing?
Well, one thing about, and I think the reason it started out as a porta potty idea was that Tiburon have a porta potty at their other tennis courts.
Right.
And they have a wooden, kind of a wooden structure around it,
Lattice
so
around
you
it.
can't tell that it's a porta potty from the outside.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm just gonna get mosquito bites when I go in that. because it feels temporary in some way. I don't know.
But this is California. We don't really have mosquitoes.
I know.
From New Jersey.
Go in the daytime and you won't be. no.
I hear you though, it does seem like a temporary solution.
But maybe this is a
True.
step towards something more permanent.
Right, and here's the thing is if it's used and it's a valuable asset to the people who are on the path, at Tom Price Park, at the tennis courts, then
Makes sense.
Just one more thing to add. Jessica said that Tiburon actually have an agreement with Mill Valley Refuse to service their other porta potties for free. So there would be the maintenance cost of a porta potty here would actually be less than what, we didn't think it would be that much, but she felt that, they would just be able to add it to their list for Mill Valley to service.
oh, that would be fantastic. Yeah. See,
That's
that-
true.
Let us.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Huh.
No, it's temporary. I mean, I don't tend to linger in porta potties, but then again, I don't think I tend to linger in the South Knoll bathroom either, so, okay.
They're kind of for emergencies,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they happen a lot. You got kids and people. yeah.
So it's interesting, every
Better
time,
than a tree.
yeah, much better than a tree or a bush. Every time that I've been passing by and there's been people on the tennis courts or in Tom Price Park, I've been polling them. I think people think I'm a little bit crazy, but, and what's interesting is it's been a generational split in terms of what people's perceptions are. People who, are sort of biking along with kids, I asked them like, oh yeah, another bathroom, that would be great. Even a porta potty, that would be fantastic. Whereas, older adults, and I'll count myself as an older adult, are like, not sure if I would use that, So,
Why? I would do it.
right, I
They're
mean,
squeamish about it.
Well, but
but it is interesting. So I've been doing some casual polling of people at the dog park and, the tennis courts and on bikes.
Little kids say, I can't hold it anymore.
well, some old people like.
Some old people can't hold it either, but, indeed. All right.
And
Okay,
well, we
so
keep giving things back to Tony to
I know,
talk
to talk to Tiburon.
about.
And now that we've talked about this, I will reach out to the chair of the Tiburon Post Committee. So that, and find out his thoughts on that as well. Okay.
Related to the tennis courts, I didn't have a space for an update on this, but the drinking fountain, bottle filling
yes.
station, there is an update on that too. And that'll be going in at the tennis court entrance to replace the one that's out there. We have a contractor with an agreement signed. BCF have provided some funding, and again, hopefully in the next few weeks that will be installed. They've painted out the USA markings for underground utilities over there, and yeah, I look forward to sharing pictures of the completed project.
Excellent. Excellent. Well,
Very good, something completed.
I know. Daisy the Labrador and I look forward to using it. Each from our respective bowls. All right. All right. All right. Now that we're at the end of old business, I'd like to ask if there's any public comment. I don't see anyone here in the room. Christine, is there anyone online who wishes to make public comment?
There's nobody online who wishes to make a comment.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right. In terms of new business, we just have one thing, which is the draft report. You'll note that it looks a lot like the draft report from last year, with updates in terms of budget and in terms of things that have been accomplished this year. I know that it just got to you yesterday, this morning, some recent period of time, and that other than Jean, who's kind of an overachiever, that the rest of you are probably not taking a look at it. Oh, you are, stop. So I wanted to solicit review and comments of the draft report. This is intended to be sort of the other side of our August report, which lays out, you know, the priorities of the things that we would like to get accomplished. One of the things that I've noted from your report today, Tony, is that the Park Lane is not up to date, and so I will update the progress we've made on Park Lane and what the next steps are there.
Yeah,
And I don't recall seeing this email.
Oh,
I don't either.
It was that you had to hit the blue lettering on the agenda.
In the agenda, okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
I mean, I noticed a couple things which I can just hand to you.
oh, okay, that would be great.
Yeah, well, if you start at page 2, just at the top, the end of that paragraph about the 24-25 budget.
Mhm.
I mean, we'd want, here it just notes that it drops down to 15,000. So you might say, we recommend that it go up to, you know, whatever. And then under the Park Lane one, at the end, it doesn't include a recommendation on money, but you just said you were going to review that one.
Yep.
So that's that one. On Lower Hawthorne and Centennial, I mean, it notes this, the 5-year plan has no allocation for Hawthorne in fiscal year 23, 24, or afterwards.
Yep.
And all there is there's some rollover money, it's 45,000. I think Tony was just talking about, oh, except that was going to go to Park Lane.
Yep.
The money that was
Yep.
left over from the intersection.
Right.
So anyway, I think that needs to get filled in with something.
Right. Well, and
specific.
right, and one of the reasons why I left Centennial Park sort of amorphous is because I'm not sure what we're doing with slides or other improvements, or whether it's just going to be the, you know, replacement of the stairs at the top.
Yeah, but for the 5-year plan, I mean, I always view that as more kind of a wish list anyway.
Right, and it's got nothing.
And right now.
Right, so.
So anyway, I mean, this will be obvious to you as soon as you have a chance to look at it. I
Yeah.
just happened
Right.
to be thinking the meeting was at 5, and I thought, okay, I'll look at this. Let me see. Oh, the Harry D. Allen stair rebuild, it does say that there's a 5-year budget. Is this right, Tony? Has an allocation of 49,000 from a donation for rebuilding the stairs.
Yep, that is correct.
And then it says we recommend increasing the 24-25.
Yeah, we actually have a geotechnical, had an engineer look at those stairs, and it looks like it's actually going to be quite a big repair needed at the bottom. I think 170,000 was their estimate, because the issue is the slope that would need to be retained at the bottom of the hill.
So
That's up from the 150, which was the last estimate that I heard.
Maybe it was 150 then. Yeah, I just can't recall off the top of my head, but I can definitely provide that for you
Okay,
for
great.
the report.
That would be great.
Yep.
That would be great.
there's a typo in the artist view one.
Oh, it's not a city stag?
Yeah. Lanes funding, let's see. So, I mean, this says we recommend increasing line 9229, which is the design and engineering one, which is what is basically financing all these things that are going on now,
Well, there's the,
from 70 to 90.
there's the lane maintenance, and then there's the design and engineering.
Yeah, so this is the design. Does that sound reasonable, Tony?
No, I think there must be a mistake there. I think it was only 25,000.
Oh, what's in there now?
Yes.
Oh,
We'll have to just double check that.
that's wrong.
Well, I think that's a roll-up of,
Prior years.
Previous years.
well, I think there's a previous year that wasn't used.
Uh-huh.
And then I think that is a combination of the Park Lane, the Centennial Park, and, well, there's
oh,
nothing,
right.
there's nothing for
Okay.
Atlas View, but I think that's
Yep.
a combination line item of a couple of different things that
Yep.
also includes rollover.
I can definitely go through this with our finance director and get the most, get the current numbers in each account so that we can
Yeah.
be up to date.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled the budget off of the city website, that has the actuals from 23 and then the proposed numbers for 24.
Yeah, yeah, and I believe most of those proposed numbers were approved.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I mean, with all of this, just a question of, making sure we've got the right numbers here for what the current funding is and, what's left. And it just goes through all the priorities, which I think we all agree on, dead and dying trees. And on that one, the recommendation basically was to look at what the estimated actual was for the preceding year and make sure that, and based on what you're telling us about this new arborist, it seems like for city dead and dying trees, this has a 70,000 figure. I don't know that that's going to take care of a dozen trees. Is that how many she said?
17 is what she said, yeah. Well, we've already used some of that amount for this year. A big, we just don't know how much we're going to end up spending by the end of winter. February is always a very big month for tree failures. So, yeah, definitely last year we blew the budget basically because so many trees fell over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, last year was a disaster for trees.
Right, and yeah, and this year so far, we haven't had a single tree come down, yeah, I could definitely keep knocking on the wood.
There's the street trees line, and then there's the fire,
Vegetation management.
right, and then there's a fire,
I wasn't finding, I don't remember that. There's some typos that we can tell where the different print is. Those are
Oh,
things that
yeah. No, I need to.
didn't get zapped out.
One thing that I think could help at the top is a little table of the different categories and then what the money was last year and then what the money is this year, because it does feel like you have to kind of sift through and like 70 here, 30 here, but like what's the total amount that the committee is requesting this year versus last year?
Good.
Maybe we, yeah. So I just, that a little executive summary part could make it really clear.
Yeah.
And then we could say, I don't know if the answer is we're requesting less than last year, or we're requesting more, or it's more, but yeah.
Yeah, the only place there's kind of a chart in the budget is the 5-year plan.
Right.
Which again, I sort of view as like the wish list. It's not really what happens, but
But we can be very clear about what we're asking.
you can plug it in there.
Mhm.
Problem seems to be, which is why, once again, this also recommends we keep Artist View on that list, because if it drops off the list, then the council just kind of goes, oh, they don't want to do that anymore.
Right. Right.
So, and so I'm confused already, though. Is that this one just got presented, right? A couple meetings between our last meeting and this meeting. you presented.
Yes, that was the August report, which was actually submitted in September.
Okay, so this is going to be the,
Gene, you bring up a good point, something that I've wondered, and I think maybe you could consider is combining the two reports and have one annual report to present to council.
So the charter for our committee provides for the two reports. So we would have to amend the Parks, Open Spaces and Lanes Committee charter in order to have one report, not two.
If you like, I could speak to Robert and maybe the city attorney about, you know, what the process would be for that.
Right.
Um,
I mean, because I agree that it does seem, you know, there's sort of duplicates and I mean, whether it's in, you know, January or August, I think that we have one set of priorities and we're sort of reporting on, in theory, we should be reporting on what has been accomplished over the past year, and another report setting out the priorities. But given that we only have 4 meetings a year, it, you know,
The priorities, there's certain consistency in the priorities.
yes.
And it seems to me if there's going to be a report, that it should be the January report, because that is really when the budget process starts, is what I found during my time on this committee. And it starts kind of with this February meeting, which is sort of big general meeting, but I think that's kind of where projects get accepted or rejected or put off. So the January one, or if there's going to be one, it should be in January. And then the other problem with that whole redo of us is the meetings didn't really jive with
Right,
the timing of the report.
right. Which is why
Yep.
the August report really got submitted in September, because it was after our meeting and, you know.
Yeah, and this one actually was changed in the, I don't know if it was changed in the charter, but definitely in the policy manual.
Yep.
The dates for this one, I think, was for December,
Yes.
and it was moved to January.
Yep.
I think that's in the prelude to this report.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, it says, to accommodate our meeting schedule with a meeting in January, the timeline for this report was amended by the city council to January 31. Well, it says 2023, but anyway.
Oh. I won't.
Well, maybe it was just amended to January 31, period, because it's an annual, but.
Yes, but yeah.
So maybe it's been amended once already.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
But anyway.
the policy manual updated it, but I think I think it is just January 31st.
Right. That should be when when's your meeting? Maybe it should even be before that. Does the council have a meeting in February before this retreat?
I don't think we have a date for the retreat yet this year, but so yeah, I think it does have this year. It does have a meeting before the retreat in February.
So the question is how to get it to the council before the retreat.
Which I think this year we would. So if we present the reports at the February meeting, that would be right before the retreat.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as sort of priorities and, hold on, is this on mute? I'm hearing an echo, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, as far as having two separate reports and combining them, I definitely agree that laying out your priorities and sort of the funding requirements in January is a good way to go. But if you were to include sort of what's the previous year's activities in the same report, it's sort of, I don't think they, I think it works. It may work quite well in the report to say this is what's been done this year, and this is what we're hoping to do next year. And to do that, we'll need this amount of funds. Yeah, so a single report might achieve the same goals.
Yeah, but cover both. What we've done on these priorities and what do in the future. Or not.
And what we
Now
wanna
and
do in the
then we
future,
add
right.
a new one.
Yeah.
A new priority.
on that front. Would be interesting if we potentially had a brainstorm about what is the parks open space lanes 2030 vision or something like, we talked about this 5-year plan. Why don't we have our own 5-year plan for ambitious things like, because it feels like a lot of what we're doing is stewardship and sort of
Yes.
like stewardship plus random ideas. Is, what I feel like we've been doing, but we could have some way to have like longer term bets or something. And I think Tiburon did a decent, I don't know the success of it, but they did that big public survey and they're like, okay, what should we do? We maybe have an opportunity to do that as well. We could also present that to the council so that they're not just like, okay, what are the incremental asks this year? Maybe they need to start thinking, hey, in 3 years, we want to do that, whatever, kayak landing.
I would love a kayak landing, but it got shot down.
Oh, I love that picture you sent.
I was going to bring that up later. It
That's
was
absolutely
hilarious.
amazing. It looks
Yeah.
like it's posed, like
Mhm.
you went down there.
Yeah.
That should be in the arc. It's
Yeah.
just like,
I know.
where's our
Yeah,
SUP launch pad?
I know.
Anyway, I think
Yeah. I mean,
after we do this report, we
Yeah.
should think about a strategy
Right.
brainstorm or something.
Right. I mean,
Solicit from
In the
public.
fall, maybe it should be, it should be one of our quarterly meetings should be specifically and focused on that,
Right.
maybe.
I think that's good. I think that's a great idea because,
All
you know,
these things
we've
we-
had a couple of big projects that have recently, well, the last couple of years, wrapped up. Like the big playground renovation was a big project.
Yeah.
Before that, the Golden Gate steps, really big project.
Artist Way was, like, you were working on that pretty actively, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Artist View, I mean, it never actually,
Really interesting.
yeah, for various reasons. But I feel like we do need to look forward and sort of think,
Next meeting, January 18th.
know,
that's- oh,
rather than
these
just
are
talking
meeting
about
minutes.
removing scotch
Oh,
broom
sorry.
and repairing railings.
Exactly.
Never mind.
Or like talking about Artist Way, it's like, our goal is to get this done within 3 years or something, and this is how we're gonna get there, whatever.
All right. Okay. All right. If people could send me their comments in any way, shape, or form you would like to, that's convenient for you. I can do electronic red lines, markups, emails with random thoughts. And then I will circulate those. Okay. All right.
And then we can discuss, submitting it and presenting it at the next council meeting.
Great.
Yep.
When is the council meeting in February?
Her husband
I know
was
I know it's on the calendar. I can look it up as well. I didn't know if you just knew.
I don't remember off
That's
the
good. I
bat.
can look it up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, just take me a second.
Okay. Yeah. I know.
It's on the calendar for the 12th,
Oh, okay.
February the 12th, yeah.
All right.
Now, I confess, I'm looking at the draft minutes, which I also read before I came,
Mhm.
the last meeting, which says today's meeting is at 5 PM.
Okay. All right. Future discussion items. I would like to take e-bikes off the list. I think we determined last meeting that that was more in the police department's purview. And B, I think the issue has somewhat become moot, as the new regulations have been passed by Tiburon. So
Okay.
I'm not sure. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, my only comment on this is I thought there was some discussion about kids riding bikes in the parks, which was
Yes.
the only part of it that seemed like it was within our purview.
Right.
And I know Belvedere seems to be opposed to signs. So I don't know if we will, if it keeps getting really bad, if we would need to have a sign to say no bike riding on the grass or.
Yeah, so I chatted briefly to our police chief about it, and it's quite difficult. I mean, he's not here right now, but because I asked if he might be able to join us at a meeting. I agree that the bigger issue of e-bikes is definitely much bigger than parks. But yeah, he basically said it's very hard to enforce anything because there are no laws against riding a bicycle in a park. It's very hard to determine the speed of a bicycle in a park. So unless you're creating new rules, say, only riding on paths or, he basically said they're quite limited in what they can do. And I think part of the problem is that these bikes are much faster than regular bikes. It's
I mean, we
Yeah.
have, our police have their own electric bike.
they do, yeah.
I mean, there could be a 30-mile-an-hour chase on electric bikes, down Centerville Avenue, but,
All I'm saying is, this might come back again if it becomes a
Yes,
problem with
yes.
kids riding in a dangerous way, tearing up the grass or
right, or
chasing dogs around Tom
Right.
Price Park. Or, a
right.
lot of things.
terrorizing kids on the
Yeah, it's
playground.
quite fun.
Right, yeah.
On the other hand, there's so few things for kids to do here. Negative rules.
I know. Except when they're running over Kathy.
I know.
All right. Owl boxes, I'd like to keep that on for the next agenda.
Okay, great. Yeah, and I spoke to the consultant, the Coyote consultant that the city has about owl boxes. She was very excited to give us a 10-minute talk on the value of owl boxes.
That would be fantastic. Can you ask her if April 25th works for her?
Yep, absolutely.
That would be awesome.
And
Yeah.
when we get them installed,
Mhm.
I really want to organize a open town walk that we could sponsor and just chat with
Yeah.
people about the thing and just look at show people where the boxes
Mhm.
are and things like that.
That would be great.
Yeah, I know it was a sort of a spin-off, I think, from the tree survey discussion at the last
Yes,
meeting.
yes.
One of the things that she said is that they don't recommend having them in trees, on poles or on the top of
Right.
buildings,
Mhm.
is a better bet. But it seems like owl boxes is no longer really part of the tree discussion. It's its own thing.
It's something, yeah.
So yeah,
Great.
I'll definitely ask her.
Mhm. Yeah. All right, does anyone else have anything else to add to our agenda items in terms of new items for next time? Obviously, we'll have updates on slides, recreational facilities, trees, lanes.
Super random question, maybe not an agenda item, but I'm always wishing that there was a coffee cart at the park during the weekend. And I don't know, is that allowed? Like, maybe it's an economic thing and they don't want to just park there, but do we allow commercial vehicles to park in front of the park? And could we get, I don't know.
That is a question for not me.
I know, I'm just,
Yeah.
I just want to see your face as I said this.
I would walk down the hill for really good coffee.
That's what I mean. I mean, I really want one up the hill too, but.
Yeah, I know what you mean. They would need to apply for a permit.
Yeah.
And they would need to, there are certain rules there. There are no generators that are allowed to be used without city council approval. And there are details about commercial activities and public versus private activities and so on. So, I mean, yeah, they would need to apply and it would need to be looked at.
Mhm.
In San Francisco again, Bill's Coffee Cart is
Yeah,
on.
no, I mean, I would love to have a taco truck for Halloween at the end of Peninsula, trust me. All right.
So that's not really an agenda item.
They
for
would make a
which-
killing. We could tax them too. All right. Okay.
My son knows the taco truck guy.
Oh, see,
Here we go. Here we go.
see, it's not what you know till you know. All right. All right. At this point, I'm going to ask if there's any public comment on our new business that we discussed.
I show no public comment.
All right. And I'm not seeing anyone here with their hand up. All right. All right. Shall we? All right.
Do it.
With that, the meeting is adjourned.